Willie D Live.
Even if you look at what's happening right now with Elon Musk, Elon Musk's son just told Trump to shut the fuck up. Did you see that?
No, I didn't see that.
Elon Musk's little ex was in the Oval Office, and he told Trump to shut the fuck up.
I heard him say that to the reporters.
He said, "You're not even the president." And this is why Elon Musk was holding a press conference in the Oval Office.
Yeah.
Elon Musk is not an elected official.
No.
Why is he holding press conferences in the Oval Office? And the president of the United States, on paper, is just looking, and he's mute the entire time. And the little boy, who is a fraction of his age, is putting him in check.
Now I did see the little boy. He was on his shoulders when he did it, because I did see this.
No, he was on his shoulders at some point, but the little boy was on the floor, standing on the floor next to Trump, right at Trump's desk.
At the Oval Office.
In the Oval Office, right at his desk, right on the corner. And the little boy, and he looked like he meant that shit too. He looked a little aggravated. He was like, "You're not even the president. Shut the fuck up."
And Trump couldn't say anything.
And Trump was just like, you know how older people look when they get old, and when people get old and they just don't have a lot to say, but they be just thinking a lot. They be thinking. That's what Trump looked like he was doing. He was like, "I ain't gonna say nothing to this little mug. Yeah." But yeah, that happened. Like, these are things that I never thought that I'd see. Well, what do you think about Trump's language? You know, like, I hear y'all be talking about how y'all like Trump because he says what he means, right? You know, he says how he feels. You know, he tell it like it is.
Right. What do you mean, you people?
Well, you know, you trumpets, you know, MAGA.
Right.
Yeah. Like, my oldest sister, in fact, both of my sisters, they tell it like it is. Mm-hmm. Whatever's on their mind, they will tell you. They are totally unafraid and unapologetic. They tell you exactly how they feel. But I wouldn't vote for them to run the country.
Right, yeah.
You know, so I don't understand that argument when people say, "Well, Trump says what he feels. Trump says exactly what he's thinking." I don't think that's a good enough reason to say, "I want this guy to be president." It has to be more to it.
Well, for me, we heard these people say. I've heard people say they'll get up there in front of the microphone and just lie straight to the American people's face. They make it, you know, whoever it is, get up there and make it sound real good. And we're absolutely not doing this. And then they turn around and do exactly what they said they weren't going to do.
Well, that's what Trump just did with the Mexicans.
What did he do? He said he was going to remove all the criminal aliens that were illegally in America, and then he did it, right?
No, he said that he was going to. Make the country a united country, and it was all about protecting the people who are already here. The people that was already here, that's why a lot of them felt safe.
Right.
But he was kind of double talking, though, because he was saying, like, "I'm going to shut these borders. I'm going to tighten up on the borders." And next thing you know, he gets in office, and ICE is like, people are hearing about ICE for the first time. Like, you know, obviously I've been knowing about ICE, but a lot of people are hearing about ICE, and they're going in, they're snatching mamas and daughters and husbands out of the homes, and they're deporting them. What I want to know is, how is he going to keep that promise to you guys who voted for him? How will he keep the promise to deport all of those immigrants? Like, America has over 20 million immigrants.
Right.
How is he going to deport all of those immigrants who are here illegally? That's what I'm talking about.
Right.
We have over 20 million immigrants here illegally. How can he do that?
Well, I mean, here's my thing is I don't know how he can do that. What I will say is that as an American citizen, I think that we should be prioritizing American citizens, because it would be one thing if people came here illegally and then they were not dependent on the government. But you had people coming here, and we're giving them taxpayer dollars. We're putting them up in hotel rooms in New York, and the taxpayers are paying for it. Now, if they're paying their own way and they're working and they're serving in the communities and they're contributing and paying taxes, then I could accept that more so. But they're using our hospitals, not paying the bills, and who absorbs that? The American citizens absorb those costs of operating for those hospitals, and we're paying taxpayer dollars or Medicaid or whatever it is, whatever services that they're receiving from the federal government is coming at your expense and at mine. And so I don't have a problem with them making a way for them to become citizens, but I think there is already a process for that. Now, if he is intent on deporting those people, I would say deport them as a family, but I would also say that, he owes it as an elected official to serve the American people first. Anybody outside of that, he owes zero allegiance to. They may be here in America, but that doesn't make them an American citizen. And I have respect and love for the work ethic of a lot of those people that come here and want the best for them and their families, but there is a legal process that they have to go through. And do we need to reform that? Probably we do. We probably need to work on the immigration system. But just because you made it across the border and didn't get caught and got here and got established, it was bad fruit from the beginning because you knew it was illegal. So I think while I'm sympathetic to their plight, I think we have to focus on, because I think about all the homeless people. We see them out here in Houston. You see them, plenty of homeless people that need help, that could use temporary housing or those hotel rooms or those gift cards that they were given to all the illegal immigrants. Why don't we give it to our people? Think about all the veterans. Think about all the VA and how horrible the VA medical system is for the people that went over and sacrificed limbs and lives and their PTSD and all this over in foreign battlefields fighting for you and for me. And they're getting second-hand, third-hand treatment, and we're giving these people who who made it and got lucky across the border, giving them preferential treatment over people who are laying down their lives and their mental health and their limbs. And we're giving these people preferential treatment. So I just don't agree with that. And what if we took all the money that we're giving these illegal immigrants and we invested it in the prison system or whatever it is? You could name any number of needs under the sun that the American people have. And I believe we have to focus on prioritizing citizens first, because citizenship is the foundation of this country. And I don't feel like, from my experience, that it's been prioritized enough, and people, it's been undermined and whittled away, and we're born into debt pretty much now. So I think we've got to focus on serving the Americans. That's what the government is for, to serve the citizenry, not foreigners. So.
Man, you know something, man? I'm sitting here thinking, as I'm listening to you talk, and you're not a typical Trump supporter that we hear on the sound bites, right? Because typically you hear Mac, kill, yeah, and so I think that somebody like you could be a great conduit for the Republican Party to bring in other people and get them to understand the message better, but also help get rid of the degenerates that are in your party. It'll take somebody like you to help get the message across. And I do believe that it would behoove Trump or whatever Republican organization that's out there that looks for people like you to make you a surrogate, for Trump or for the Republican Party, because you perfectly articulates the message, without sounding like hate.
Right. You
know what I mean? Now, you might be a hater, I don't know. But I'm just saying, you don't sound like hate, Mm-hmm. And I think that's important for us to come together. We have to be able to have civilized discussions. Mm-hmm. Whether you and I agree or not, it doesn't matter whether you or I like each other or not. What's important is that we respect one another.
That's right.
Because we share this space no matter what. Like I was saying earlier, we're all trying to get there.
That's right.
And nobody's not trying to get there. Nobody's going to give up their spot to get there. Mm-hmm. So in order for us to actually make any type of progress, it starts with a conversation.
That's right.
Everything, it starts with a conversation. And you don't, this is why I don't talk to everybody. I wanted to have a conversation with you because in my mind, you were the type of person that that I thought that would try to get an understanding, like
Right.
a reasonable person who's trying to get an understanding and at least want to do the right thing. Some people, it's not even worth talking to because
Right.
it's like talking to a brick wall. You're not going to ever get an understanding.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that's just a waste of time. I heard you talk about earlier that you were adopted. You found out that you were adopted at the age of what?
12, 13, around there.
12, 13. Who raised you?
My adopted mom and dad raised me initially, and then around that same age, my mom and dad separated. And so basically my mom, but she passed away in 2012. And then my adopted dad passed away when I was, I guess, like 15 or 16.
When you say your mom, your adopted mom,
Mm-hmm.
and then your adopted dad passed away when?
He passed away when I was about 15 or 16.
Yeah.
So
when they passed away, when your adopted dad passed away last, right?
mhm.
So,
No, my adopted
first,
mom,
Your adopted dad passed away first, then your adopted mom passed away. So at that point, what kind of relationship did you have with your adopted mother and father?
My adopted father was not good. He was alcoholic. He was involved in a lot of stuff. This is a really crazy story. I don't know if you want to get into all that, but
I do.
So I was given up for adoption when I was little, like 2 years old, 1 year old, 2 years old. Well, so I didn't find out I was adopted till I was 13. Then my adopted dad passed away when I was about 16. And then my adopted mom passed away in 2012, about, 12, 13 years ago. And, I had a lot of questions when I was 13. Like, it wounded me as a young man. I didn't understand that. First of all, I felt like my adopted family had lied to me. I felt like, that I had that, how you see kids put something on somebody's back, this, kick me sticker or whatever. I felt like I had that sign on my back, and everybody in my family knew that I was adopted, but I didn't know. And I felt like the fool or the idiot in the room, and everybody else knew something about me that I didn't even know. And I felt like they had lied to me and deceived me about that. And so I felt betrayed from that aspect. And then, so I was wounded by that, but then, so I asked mom, and then on the other hand, my biological mom, I was like, what is so wrong with me that my own mom didn't even want me, that she could throw me? I felt like, and this was something that I heard in my head, like, how could she throw me? I look at my pictures, I'm a blue-eyed, red-haired, little freckle-faced little baby, and I think I'm cute, right? And so how could you throw me away? Like, what was so wrong with me that you didn't want me? And so I felt like a throwaway, and I always heard that, like, you're a piece of trash is what I always imagined in my mind, that my own mom could throw me away. And so adopted dad died and adopted mom died, and my adopted dad was involved in some drug trafficking stuff in the DFW Fort Worth area. He was moving fresh produce and stuff like that, but he was trafficking drugs from Mexico up to the DFW area. He got in trouble for all that. He was also doing rodeo producing, hauling cattle, and he had a group of cowboys that worked with him that would help him drive the trucks and do all these different things with the cattle. Well, one of the guys that worked for him, there was these girls that would chase those cowboys around, like groupies or whatever. And my mom was one of those girls, right?
Cowboys got groupies?
Yeah, they got groupies, man.
Not the Dallas Cowboys.
Ghetto boys ain't the only ones that had groupies back then. But yeah, no, they. So my mom was running with these cowboys, and she got pregnant. Well, by one of these guys. Anyway, she didn't want to have me, and so I'm kind of getting the story mixed up. After both my adopted parents died, I had a lady reach out to me on Facebook, and she said, Shane, I don't know if you know who I am, but she's like, I'm your I'm your grandmother. You knew me as Aunt Dorothy growing up, but I'm really your grandmother.
Wow.
And so she's like, out of respect, I made your mom a promise that I would stay away until I had an opportunity or till they were both gone. And so she reached out to me and she asked me if I wanted to come have dinner with her. So I sat down with her and had dinner with her. And she told me, she said, she told me the story about how my mom had me and she was going to have an abortion. And then she went to this women's, I don't know what, it's some kind of clinic where basically they take care of the women until they have the baby and then they find a home for the baby. They give it up for adoption. I forget, there's a name for it. But then, so my mom, instead of doing that, she realized that Bob and Sandy Jenkins, my adopted parents, wanted to adopt a baby. So she gave me to her friends, Bob and Sandy Jenkins. Well, so my biological grandmother is telling me the story, and she says, well, the last time I saw your mom, now granted, don't forget my adopted dad was in this drug trafficking stuff going on. Well, my grandmother, she says, the last time I saw your mom, she told me that I figured out a way to get Shane back because she wanted to get me back from my adopted family. And she said, she told me that she was going to turn state's evidence. She was going to go testify to the government about what my adopted dad was doing illegally to get me back, to get custody of me back. Well, that very same night that she told my grandmother that, 3 guys that worked for my adopted dad came, picked my mom up, drove her out to Grand Prairie by Dallas, and she shot herself and died. And so she didn't shoot herself. She was murdered by guys that worked for my adopted dad because somehow he had got wind of what she intended to do to betray him or whatever. And so
you don't think your grandmother told him?
She may have. Yeah, she very well might have. Yeah. So my adopted father had my biological mother murdered. And my grandmother's sitting here telling me this story, and now all of them are dead, right? And I'm like, I can't be mad. I mean, it's crazy to think about it, but I can't be mad at them. And then now I think about, my mom. But so my grandmother went and confronted the police at the scene of the murder or suicide, whatever they were calling it. And she's like, Bob Jenkins had this done to my daughter. This guy had this done to her. And the cops are like, well, if you know that he did this to her, then you need to get the hell out of here because he'll have it done to you too. And so they told her to beat feet to get out of there. And so she was like, she left and just left it alone. But so here it is. This was probably like 13 years ago that I found out that all this happened. You know what I mean? And I had that wound of being a throwaway or a piece of trash my whole life until I was here in Richmond, Texas at the Carol Vance unit. At a Charm Prison Ministry event that, 007 from the 5th Ward Boys. And
shout out 007.
Yeah, man. They all come into the prison and they whooped us on the basketball court. Charm Prison Ministry did. And then they fed us gumbo and brisket and all this stuff. You don't ever get any of that in prison, but we were at the Carol Vance unit. They brought that in and then they brought the gospel message. But man, that day I gave my life to Christ, and he called when I gave my life to Christ, he said, he called me son. And I had been wanting to hear that my whole life. He called me son. He said, I'm never going to leave you and I'm never going to forsake you. And that in that moment, he gave me my position and my identity, and he called me son. And that was just something that mended that wound in my heart. I had a hole in my heart, and I didn't realize it, but it was a cross-shaped heart, and it was for the cross of Jesus Christ. And it mended that wound in my heart from that point forward. And not only that, but it took the guilt and the shame that I felt from killing my stepdad, the unwarranted guilt or whatever, some would say. And there is no condemnation in Jesus Christ. And so he took that guilt for me and said, I died for that too. Even if you feel like you did wrong, I died for all of that. You know what I mean? And so